So this work really gives us the opportunity to work more closely with CC UNESCO, with the Saskatchewan Human Rights Commission, and with MyTax. And this project is framed within MyTax Accelerate program, as Ryan explained. And so the work is titled Research and Innovation in Social Work and Development. And we are focusing on addressing systemic racism and its impact on people's health and on human, social, and economic development. This work is framed within the understanding that the profession of social work is multidisciplinary, and that gives us a chance to be able to explore like health issues, human development issues, social relationships and social development issues, plus economic development. Ryan might. Okay, so the project, we've titled it as Enhancing Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Programs. And of course, it builds on what UNESCO has already put in place in terms of advancing inclusion in Canadian cities. But what we're trying to do is tie it to the research and innovation and practice theory and measuring outcomes. Some of you have heard about social products, so this would fall in the category of social products. And it's the kind of social product that is not about, it's not a new product, but it's talking about what is already in place and what can we add on what is already in place. So in this work, we would be talking about what is working well and what can be improved. The project we are proposing here is sort of framed within the context of understanding praxis and change. As we all know, change is happening all the time. And actually change happens as we do things. So this project is designed as a participatory action research project in which we are inviting municipalities that are already engaged and interested in becoming more inclusive cities to explore what we are working on in a more deliberate and intentional way. So we are going to emphasize the collective need to promote equality, but in a way that is more, how can I put it, that is framed in practice theory, evidence-based practice theory. So this slide here talks about, like the other slide talks about, what have we found in research? What we've noticed with some cities that are engaged in equity, in diversity, equity, and inclusion, is that sometimes we are talking about equity, diversity, and inclusion, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, or inclusion, equity, and diversity. And sometimes what happens is that we really mean good intentions and we want to do this work well. But in social work, we tend to also argue that good intentions is good, but it's not good enough. The challenge is that good intentions is like giving a blue pill. And in social work, because we try very hard to make sure that we have professional practice, we always think about, no, we shouldn't give a blue pill. We need to be practicing from a clear theory that has been proven. So practice needs to be framed within evidence-based practice theory. So in this project, we are going to be promoting more diversity, which is a human phenomenon. There's nothing you can do about diversity. It's actually, for us, some of us, we take it as a gift to humanity. Because if we're all men, life would be really miserable, I think. No offense to men, but definitely the Creator recognized the importance of diversity and created women. but we are also going beyond that level of diversity. We are talking about diversity as a human phenomena. Like we have diversity in culture. That's a human phenomena because culture and language and all that, the whole world, people wouldn't be speaking one language. They speak many languages. In addition to that, though, we have diversity in personalities. And personalities can be a challenging phenomena, yet it's also a very valuable resource. So we always started with diversity and inclusion, and equity as more or less the measurement tool we use to ensure we are actually respecting diversity, and then move into being able to achieve inclusivity or really running inclusive programs. So, those of you who participate in this project, you really see how we roll this around and really make sure that we are practicing from evidence-based practice theory. The other key, so I've already sort of touched about we all who are involved in these programs share the goal of equity, like wanting to advance equity. But what we notice is that most programs are actually using numbers to measure equity, but that's a weak and an incomplete measurement. So in our project, those of you who engage in our project, you get to see how we talk about measuring equity. It's an exciting work, research and innovation work that we will be engaging in. The third component is that research has also exposed the quality of inequality. Like many times or historically, we all understood that inequality causes a lot of problems. Actually, human rights, the essence of human rights is to promote equality of dignity and opportunity and the equality of worth of every individual. So in this work, because we've figured out those additional variables that we can measure, we'll be talking more about how to mitigate the impact of inequality in people's lives and the impact of inequality in human growth and social growth and economic development. So the project, the cities that we participate will tremendously benefit from this participatory action research and the things that we're going to be able to explore together and work on together. So the project implementation team, of course, it's the municipal, at the municipal government levels. We know that you're already engaged in this work, so we are looking for the city policy and program leaders. We're also looking at city research and development officers. We are also hoping that we engage city public relations and communications officers. In addition, we also want, because it's participatory action research, we want to make sure that community leaders and community builders who are embracing diversity and are willing to engage in critical anti-oppressive practice or critically to address the challenge of systemic racism to be part of the team that we are going to work with. We trust that you might also suggest other participants at the municipal level. At the research team level, research and development team level, we are going to be bringing to, along human rights experts and scientists in practice. There's a lot of, since the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, and also the UNESCO Declaration on Race, there's a lot of research work, scientific research work in this area and experts who are practicing in this field. We also bring along social work theorists and researchers who are involved or who are focused on change and development. And here, in terms of change, we're talking about positive change. We bring along policy analysts and experts who understand that when we talk about policy, we are also talking about it from a holistic stance. So we're thinking about public policy, social policy, economic policy, health, like health policies and how they intersect. So it's a holistic approach. We're also going to bring along experts in statistical research and qualitative research. But the emphasis here is, I think social workers tend to be really engaged in qualitative research, but we are putting an emphasis on quantitative research here because we are talking about measurement and different variables. So we are going to work with experts in that area. We're also hoping to bring along experts in digital technology. We're not very strong at that, but hey, through the University of Manitoba Faculty of Engineering and other experts, we know that we'll be able to bring along other, experts to work with us in this multidisciplinary project. And along with that is the communication experts, because we do realize that within the academia, we tend to sort of have to engage in that research and summarizing key concepts, but at the same time, those key concepts have to be broken down to be able to be communicated at the public level. So communication experts will help us to break down those concepts. Here I tried to summarize the project design and the components of the project and the phases that are hidden within there. It's a 3-year project, and we are talking about 4 phases. I've already mentioned that it's participatory action research focused on development. So what is the methodology that we are going to use, and how do we break it down? That's what this table is about. So phase 1, like as I mentioned earlier, that I don't know whether I mentioned it earlier. Sorry, I have to rephrase here. So the project is 3-year, and it's timed as 2020 to 2025. But here we are in 2021, and we're already very active in recruiting and very active in engaging communities, and to make sure that we have cities that participate in this project. So sorry for the poor technology, but this white box relates to what we are doing right now. Once we've done the prep work and actually formalized the application to MITAX and made sure that the team is all together, we move into the phase 1, which is sort of scheduled to take place between May and August of next year, whereby we will be doing the contracts and concretizing what we're going to work on. And then move into phase 2, which is going to be focusing on the teaching and learning at the personal, interpersonal, and institutional levels. So in this phase 2, we are going to be engaged in, we use 4 months to engage in seminars on human rights and how do you break down human rights, and how do you move from human rights as a head knowledge concept or public policy to a heart level policy or a heart level concept that adds value. So it's going to be 4-month-long seminars, and it's at a PhD level kind of a course. But because it's a seminar, we'll be able to break down the concept to community level, to policy analyst level, to EDI officer level, and it will be an interesting experience that we are looking forward to engaging. And it's this session where we're going to bring human rights experts that have been working in this field for some time to help us break down those concepts. At one time I heard somebody say that you can teach people empathy, And the first time I heard it was like, really? Can you? So what we're talking about here is teaching ourselves and learning human rights values so that they become a lived experience knowledge from a head knowledge. The seminars will be great. I really encourage everybody who is able to attend to be part of this. Then we move into a phase where those equity, those diversity, equity, and inclusion officers and policy analysts move into a space where they do policy evaluation and program evaluation to ensure that we really are talking about advancing equity. And how do we really measure it? Like, and we will share with you tools that we can use to measure like the different variables that are involved in this work. And then we move it to you being able to work with municipalities to get approval of what you're proposing. Because we do realize this is at institutional level. So everything is a process. It's the praxis that I talked about earlier on. And we refine those or tweak those policies and programs and check them out. And we probably might even do a pilot test if we feel that we have enough time between May and August. Then we move into phase 3 that is sort of designed as a quasi-experimental research and development design kind of a project. So it's like a lab within a context of Ryan's presentation. You saw that lab kind of illustration. So we move into a lab kind of context. It's quasi-experimental research design, whereby we start to apply what we talked about here. But before we apply, we'll collect baseline data, using participatory action research, and we'll talk about the levels of data collection at this level. But at least working as a team, you'll be familiar with these concepts at this stage, so that when you move here, you're familiar and you're able to collect that baseline data. Then we have 4 months of application. So baseline data collection plus a bit of the introduction of the launching the new initiatives that you want to engage in, and then implementation in Q2, and then implementation Q3. So a whole year of experimenting with these things. And then we move into, I'm trying to watch time here so that I don't overplay my time. We move into the post-text. So we'll have a chance to collect data to sort of assess where are we, how is the community reacting to what we are doing, what is working well, what is not working well, and then move into we'll be able to synthesize the data, and this data is going to be analyzed at the local level, but also merged at the regional level, the whole of Western Canada, and then have recommendations in the last phase here. I'm going to try and fast forward here. I'm almost wrapping up. This slide is only giving you a sense of the practice theory team that is working, that has put together the practice model or the practice theory that we are working on. And I already mentioned that this work stems from the symposiums that we carried on, but it's also part of the historical research that many people have been involved in this work. So I'm one of the people who are involved in this. The Dean of the Faculty of Social Work, Professor Michael Yellowbird, is also involved in this. His work is mainly around how to use memory work to overcome systemic injustices. So, and decolonization. Linda Stellinger is another member of the practice theory, and her work builds on her thesis and how she uses human rights and narrative therapy towards healing from intergenerational traumas. So the work we are talking about is very heavy. It understands the traumas of slave trade, the traumas of slavery, the traumas of colonization, and how you work on dealing with such heavy laden kind of traumas as a process to work towards healing. These other cities that have done this kind of work, and there's a lot to learn from and to be able to build on. Dr. Khan Mohammed will be working on human rights, migration, and economic justice, and Dr. Michael Buffalo will be focusing on structural change, like incorporating structural changes in addressing systemic racism. Again, as mentioned earlier on, we are also going to be working with other experts, like those who understand policy and how it intersects. And so you'll have a chance to have that broad and complex understanding of policy. Also specialists in measurements. Human rights experts, as I mentioned earlier on. We are also going to be working with 10 graduate students who are doing research in this area. And of course, you have a chance to suggest other resource team we can add on. So this thing is not written in stone. We are open to ideas and to make sure that it works well for everyone involved. This slide is mainly meant to say that in research, innovation, and development, we are always making sure that we are grounded in evaluating local conditions and listening to local issues. It's not a high-level kind of work. It's a grounded work. And that's why we chose to only do it in Western Canada and starting with a few cities. So you'll be able to talk about your local issues and make sure that in the project we'll be addressing your local issues, and it will be about developing unique and local initiatives and responding to local needs. So participating, what are we looking for? We are looking for about 8 to 10 cities in Western Canada. Among them, maybe 1 to 2 cities from each province, which are already members of CIM, as you've already heard from CIFI UNESCO, and maybe 1 to 2 cities who are non-members, because of course the whole goal is to expand the circle and include more cities in this important work. So this launch is the beginning of the recruitment process, but we are, and this launch is going to be followed with almost a week-long intensive recruitment. So for those cities that are not able, we have not been able to attend today, we are still going to reach out to them. We've had a number of cities that have expressed interest, but they're not able to participate today. That's why this session is recorded, and we're going to have a chance to do more recruitment. But in addition to that, we would like also to reach out to you who are participating today, that in addition to questions that you raise, we also have a one-on-one kind of a discussion whereby you'll be able to ask additional questions that you'd like to make sure that we address as part of the project. So you can indicate that information, like you can indicate to us the time that you'd be available for us to reach out to you, either tomorrow on Friday, December 3rd, Monday, December 6th, or Tuesday, December 7th, between 1:30 to 3:30 Central Standard Time. Or you can email me. I'm sorry, this is in yellow. My email address is in yellow, but if you don't see it, email Mohammed, because that's another quick way to connect, and Mohammed will alert me to make sure that we reach out to you. Yeah, and To be able to connect this whole process together, we are going to be working with Ryan on Wednesday and Thursday, and then on Friday, December 10th, we'll be talking back to you in terms of what we have on the table. But if by that time we have 8 cities, we'll wrap up the recruitment. If we don't, we continue with the recruitment until we attain the goal of 8 to 10 cities in Western Canada. So that, I think, wraps up our presentation. Thank you so much, and I'll hand over to you, Daryl.